What if the reason you feel stuck isn't because you're lazy, or broken, or unmotivated? What if it's because you've been chasing the wrong thing this whole time? Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, this year will be different, only to fall back into the same patterns by February? Yeah, me too. But here's the uncomfortable truth most people never hear. It's not that you aim too low. It's that you aim too big, too fast, and burn out before your life can catch up. Wait till you hear this. What if the secret to completely changing your life isn't some dramatic transformation, but something so small it almost feels stupid? I'm talking about habits so tiny they don't scare you, so easy they feel harmless, so small you'd never think they could matter. And yet, they do. In fact, they might be the most powerful force shaping your future right now. Let's rewind for a second. Picture your life as a long road. Every habit you repeat is like turning the steering wheel just 1 degree. 1 degree doesn't feel like anything. You don't notice it. You barely sense movement. But after a year, you're not even on the same road anymore. That's the core idea behind Atomic Habits by James Clear. Atomic, meaning tiny, microscopic, so small they're easy to ignore, but powerful because they compound. Here's a mind bender for you. If you get just 1% better each day, not perfect, not heroic, just 1%, by the end of the year, you're not 365% better, you're 37 times better. And if you get 1% worse each day, you fade into almost nothing. Scary, right? Now here's where it gets real. Most people think success comes from big breakthroughs, a viral moment, a massive promotion, a sudden glow-up. But the truth? Success is usually boring. It's quiet, invisible, and painfully slow at first. There's this concept called the plateau of latent potential. It's that awkward phase where you're doing all the right things, but nothing seems to be working. You're working out, eating better, studying, saving money, and still, no results, no reward, no recognition. It feels like failure, but it's not. It's like heating an ice cube. At 25 degrees, nothing happens. At 28 degrees, nothing happens. At 31 degrees, still nothing. And then suddenly, at 32 degrees, it melts. The change didn't start at 32 degrees. It was building the entire time. You just couldn't see it yet. But here's the twist nobody tells you. Your habits aren't just things you do. They're votes for the person you're becoming. Every time you go for a walk instead of scrolling TikTok, you're casting a vote for, I'm a healthy person. Every time you open a book instead of Netflix, you're casting a vote for, I'm a learner. Every time you show up, even when it's inconvenient, you're building an identity. And this is where most people mess up. They focus on goals. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to make 6 figures. I want to run a marathon. Goals are fine, but goals are just outcomes. They don't change who you are. Systems do. Habits do. Because the moment you hit a goal, what happens? You either relapse or you feel empty and move the finish line. But when you build an identity, you don't ask, do I feel like doing this today? You ask, what would a healthy person do? What would a disciplined person do? What would a confident person do? And suddenly, The right action feels natural. But here's where it gets even deeper. Every habit follows the same invisible loop. Cue, craving, response, reward. Something triggers you. You want relief or pleasure. You act. You get a payoff. That loop is running your life right now, whether you realize it or not. Your phone buzzes. You crave distraction. You check it. You feel entertained. Loop complete. Now imagine, what if you could redesign that loop? What if instead of trying to use pure willpower, you engineered your environment to work for you? But here's where it gets real. Because knowing this doesn't change anything. Applying it does. And that's where the 4 laws of behavior change come in. 4 simple rules that can literally reprogram your habits. But before we dive into the first one, let me ask you something that might sting a little. What tiny habit are you doing right now that future you is going to either thank you for or hate you for? Yeah, sit with that. Because the first law is where everything begins. But here's where it gets real. The first law of behavior change sounds almost too simple. Make it obvious. Not heroic, not dramatic, not life-altering overnight. Just obvious. And yet, this one shift alone can quietly flip your entire life upside down. Because right now, most of your habits aren't chosen. They're triggered. You don't randomly open Instagram. You don't magically end up eating junk food. You don't accidentally skip the gym. Something cues you. A notification, a craving, a stressful moment, a bored moment, a familiar place, a familiar time. Your environment is whispering instructions to you all day long, and you're following them without even realizing it. Here's a weird question. Why do you brush your teeth every night? Be honest. Is it because you're deeply passionate about dental hygiene? No, it's because your toothbrush is right there, next to the sink, in your face. That's not motivation. That's design. And this is where most people get it completely backwards. They try to change themselves instead of changing their surroundings. They say things like, I just need more discipline. I just need to try harder. I just need to want it more. But discipline is unreliable. Environment is undefeated. So here's the first upgrade. Make good habits visible. Make bad habits invisible. Sounds basic, feels boring, but it works like magic. Want to drink more water? Put a water bottle on your desk, not in a drawer, not in the fridge, not in another room. Right in your line of sight. Want to read more? Leave a book on your pillow so it's the last thing you see at night. Want to eat healthier? Put fruit at eye level. Hide the junk food behind something annoying to move. Because here's the brutal truth. Out of sight, out of mind, out of your life. But here's where it gets spicy. There's a trick called implementation intentions. It sounds fancy. It's not. It's just this. I will behavior at time in location. Not I'll work out more. That's a wish. This is a plan. I will do 10 squats at 7 a.m. in my bedroom. Now your brain doesn't have to negotiate. It doesn't have to guess. It just executes. Because clarity kills procrastination. But wait till you hear this. There's another secret weapon called habit stacking. It's basically piggybacking a new habit onto one you already do. Like this. After I brush my teeth, I will do 2 push-ups. After I pour my morning coffee, I will write one sentence. After I sit at my desk, I will take 3 deep breaths. You're not creating a new routine, you're hijacking an old one, which makes your brain go, "Oh, this again. Cool. Easy." Now let's flip it, because building good habits is only half the battle. Breaking bad ones? That's where most people stay stuck. And the solution isn't shame, it's invisibility. Want to stop doom scrolling? Delete the app, log out, put your phone in another room. Want to stop eating junk? Don't buy it, or put it on the highest shelf, or make it mildly annoying to reach. Because every extra step is friction, and friction is your new best friend. Here's the funny part. People will spend $3,000 on a new laptop to be more productive, but won't move their phone charger out of their bedroom. Guess which one actually changes behavior? Yeah, the $5 extension cord. But here's the deeper insight. Your habits are not a reflection of your character. They're a reflection of your environment. If you live in a house full of cookies, you're not weak for eating cookies. You're human. If you work in a room full of distractions, you're not lazy for procrastinating. You're responding to cues. So stop blaming yourself. Start redesigning your space. Because when the right choice is the easy choice, you don't need motivation. You don't need hype. You just do it. But here's where it gets real. Even if a habit is obvious, you still won't do it if it feels boring or painful. Which brings us to the second law. And this one hacks your desire itself. Because what if you could make discipline feel fun? Yeah, that's coming next. But first, one last uncomfortable question. What's one tiny change you could make today that would make your best habit 10 times easier and your worst habit 10 times harder? Think about that. Because the next law is where habits go from logical to irresistible. And wait till you hear this. But here's where it gets really dangerous. Because even if a habit is obvious, even if it's right in front of your face, you still won't do it if your brain secretly hates it. Which brings us to law number 2. Make it attractive. And no, this isn't about tricking yourself with fake positivity. This is about understanding one brutal truth. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of what feels good in the moment. Your brain is a dopamine junkie. It's constantly scanning for what's easy, what's fun, what gives me relief right now. And if your good habits feel like punishment, and your bad habits feel like dessert, guess which ones are winning? Exactly. So here's the move that changes everything. Temptation bundling. It means pairing something you need to do with something you want to do. Like this. Only watch your favorite show while walking on the treadmill. Only listen to your favorite podcast while cleaning. Only drink your fancy coffee while journaling. Now your brain starts craving the habit because it's chasing the reward attached to it. It's not, ugh, I have to work out. It's, nice, I get my show. Same behavior, totally different emotional experience. But wait till you hear this. There's an even deeper layer. Your habits are shaped by the people around you. If your friends all party every weekend, staying disciplined feels weird. If your coworkers all snack all day, eating healthy feels awkward. If your family never reads, you reading feels out of place. Humans are wired to fit in. So instead of fighting that instinct, use it. Join a gym where everyone trains hard. Follow creators who live the life you want. Hang around people who already do the habit you're trying to build. Because when a behavior is normal in your tribe, you don't need motivation. You just copy. But here's the savage part. If you want to kill a bad habit, you don't just remove it. You make it ugly. Reframe it. Doom scrolling isn't relaxing. It's stealing your future focus. Junk food isn't comfort. It's borrowing energy from tomorrow. Skipping workouts isn't self-care. It's self-sabotage with a cozy blanket. When your brain starts associating pain instead of pleasure, the craving weakens. But here's where it gets real. Even if a habit is attractive, you still won't do it if it feels hard. Which brings us to law number 3. Make it easy. And this is where most people completely lose the plot. They think habits have to be intense, hardcore, all or nothing. I have to work out for an hour or it doesn't count. I have to read 30 pages or it's pointless. I have to meditate for 20 minutes or why bother? That mindset kills more dreams than laziness ever will. So here's the rule that saves lives. The 2-minute rule. Downsize every habit until it takes less than 2 minutes. Read 1 page. Do 1 push-up. Write 1 sentence. Open your notes app and type 1 idea. Not because that's enough, but because it gets you started. And starting is the hardest part. Once you're in motion, momentum takes over. Nobody does 1 push-up and quits because they're exhausted. They quit because they never started. But here's the deeper magic. You're not building the habit. You're building the identity. You're not trying to read a book. You're trying to become a reader. And every time you show up, even for 60 seconds, you cast a vote for that identity. And those votes add up. Now let's flip it again. Want to break bad habits? Add friction. Make them annoying. Make them slow. Make them inconvenient. Log out of apps every time. Put junk food in a locked container. Unplug your TV after each use. Delete saved passwords. Because every extra step is a moment your brain can wake up and go, do I really want this? And most of the time, the answer is no. Here's a wild truth. You don't need more self-control. You need fewer temptations. And you don't need more motivation. You need better systems. Because when the good choice is the easiest choice, you win by default. But here's where it gets real. Even if a habit is obvious, even if it's attractive, even if it's easy, you still won't stick with it long term unless it feels rewarding. Which brings us to the final law. And this one locks everything in. But before we go there, quick reality check. What habit are you making way too hard right now that could become stupidly easy if you just shrank it down to 2 minutes? Yeah, That one. Because the next law is where habits become automatic. And wait till you hear this. But here's where it gets real. Even if a habit is obvious, even if it's attractive, even if it's easy, you still won't keep doing it unless it feels good. Which brings us to law number 4. Make it satisfying. And this is where most people unknowingly sabotage themselves. Because your brain is wired for one thing above all else: immediate reward, not future reward, not logical reward, not "this will pay off in 5 years" reward. Right now reward. That's why scrolling TikTok beats reading a book. That's why junk food beats salad. That's why sleeping in beats going to the gym. Your brain doesn't care about your goals. It cares about dopamine. So if your good habits feel like suffering and your bad habits feel like pleasure, guess which ones are going to win long term? Exactly. So here's the fix. Add an immediate reward to your good habits. Not a massive one, not something that cancels out the benefit, just something small that tells your brain, hey, that was worth it. Like this. After you work out, play your favorite song. After you study, make a great cup of coffee. After you journal, watch a funny clip. After you save money, move $1 into a fun fund. It sounds childish. It works like magic, because you're teaching your brain to associate pleasure with progress. But wait till you hear this. There's an even more powerful satisfaction hack: visual tracking. Something as simple as a calendar. Every day you complete your habit, you put a big, satisfying X on the date. And suddenly, you don't want to break the chain. Not because of discipline, but because your brain loves streaks. It loves visible progress. It loves proof that you're becoming someone new. And here's the crazy part. Once you've got a 10-day streak, you're no longer just trying the habit. You are that kind of person now. You're a reader. You're a runner. You're a disciplined human. Identity shift unlocked. Now let's flip it one last time. Want to break bad habits? Make them painful. Immediately. Not in a dramatic way, in a real, emotional way. Tell a friend your goal and agree to pay them $50 if you mess up. Use an app that charges you when you skip habits. Donate to a cause you hate every time you break your rule. Now your brain goes, wait, this isn't fun anymore. And suddenly, that bad habit loses its power. But here's the deeper insight nobody talks about. Habits don't fail because of intensity. They fail because of boredom. At first, you're excited, motivated, inspired. Then a week passes, 2 weeks, 3, and the novelty dies. That's when most people quit. Not because it's hard, but because it's dull. Which is why there's something called the Goldilocks rule. Your habits need to be not too easy, not too hard, just challenging enough to keep you engaged. If it's too easy, you get bored. If it's too hard, you get overwhelmed. So you slightly raise the bar. One more push-up, one more page, one more minute. Not massive upgrades, tiny ones. Because tiny improvements compound into massive results. But here's a truth that might surprise you. Missing one day doesn't destroy your habit. Missing twice does. Because the first miss is an accident. The second miss is the start of a new pattern. So if you fall off, don't spiral, don't quit, don't say, screw it, I failed. Just get back on track immediately. Protect your identity at all costs. Because at the end of the day, this was never about habits.
It was about who you're becoming. Every tiny action you take is a vote for your future self. Every small win is a brick in the life you're building. And every time you show up, even when it feels pointless, you're proving something powerful. That you're not stuck. That you're not broken. That you're not behind. You're just early in the process. So here's the final question. Not a motivational one, a real one. What is the one tiny habit, so small it feels almost laughable, that you could start today and repeat tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that? Because that habit isn't small. It's the seed of a completely different life. And if this hit home, if something inside you just clicked, don't scroll away like nothing happened. Hit subscribe. Stay in this journey. Start letting go of the old you. Because your future isn't built by massive goals. It's built by tiny habits done consistently when nobody's watching. And that is how tiny habits overpower massive goals.